really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, mother, what do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way. Close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, good Tuesday afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us in studio for the next couple of days. And then on the road for the golf outing coming up at Franklin. That's down at Legends. Our good friend Ted Bishop. My man Carlton is bringing a basketball goal in the back of a truck. Why didn't I think of that? You tell me if you've ever been to a golf outing that has brought a basketball goal in the back of a in the back of a truck so we can have a shoot-off. I don't know yet exactly how we're going to do it. It has to be something quick because we got golfers running in and out. You don't want to slow things up, right? But for prizes, somebody had asked me, so are you going to do this for Heaven Hill Distillery products? Well, I would love to do it. Sometimes when I say that out loud, people don't like it. That's why we had to go with a sample thing, right? We're sampling. So I don't know exactly how we're going to do it yet. I just know that it is absolutely genius for Carlton Mills of Ducks of Noblesville to come up with a basketball goal in the back of a truck. That is us coming up on Thursday. Legends in Franklin. Cannot wait to see you all down there. I promise you, and believe me, when I promise, I deliver. A good-ass time. So be ready for that. Friday, Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. Dan Patch discussion coming up on Friday. And I know there was a little bit of confusion because I did send this out over the weekend. I kind of got double booked on Friday. I got double booked at Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson and then at Sid's in Noblesville. But as with anything else, I have found a solution, and here it is. 3 until 6 on Friday, Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. All of our friends will be up there. Tony Renz, all of you. I cannot wait. It is a big weekend up in Anderson at Harrah's Hoosier Park. And then on my way home, I'm going to slide by just because I want to hang with anybody and everybody that wants to drop by and see our friends, Brian and the gang, at Sid's. That's Sid's Fine Foods in Noblesville, just right there off the square. They're celebrating 80 years. So I'm definitely going to be a part of that on my way home on Friday. So then Saturday, we're going to do the JMV takeover at the Indiana State Fair. I had a lengthy conversation with Skids. Skids is in. Laura Steele, just the incredible, smooth, sultry voice of Laura Steele is going to be out there hanging out with us. We're going to be in the tap room at the Indiana State Fair coming up on Saturday night for the JMV takeover. And then on Sunday, normally Sunday is a day for me to cross the road, get a little hammerlocked, float around at Paradise Day Watson's, but duty calls, and I'm going to go hang out for number 80 with our friends from Sid's on Sunday. So Brian and I hang from 1 until 3 with you. And then this is going to be worthy because there is not a Sunday that goes by without me somewhere in a pool. At some point, somebody has to offer up a cement pond for me to jump into because we're talking sunny and 90 plus coming up on Sunday. So we celebrate Sid's from 1 until 3 in Noblesville and number 80 with Brian and everybody. They're having a great weekend at Sid's in Noblesville. And then somebody's cement pond I'm going to jump into. Not semen pond, but cement pond. That would be gross. That I'm going to jump into with others coming up on Sunday. So it's all up to you to find the pool. I've got the location. I've got the fun. As we talk about the Pied Piper of that would be me right here. Thus, we get started. Joint practice is ongoing today. You know, the turn on the description of the play in practice of A.D. Mitchell has been substantial. I'm glad. I'm glad because I know this. I know it's practice, and the only time it matters is when somebody sucks in practice. It never really matters when you're good in practice because all people are going to say it doesn't translate until you actually play until it matters in game, right? 100% accurate. But it is a lot better not to suck in practice. It's a lot better to be talked about. There have been promos on here talking about A.D. Mitchell can't catch a cold. I think that was recently as early last week. And now, my man, they're using terms that is in the now. The younger generation, the millennials, James, like to use the terms roasted and cooked. Somebody's getting roasted and somebody's getting cooked. Those are the terms that you use. I think you're kind of dorky when you use them, but that's okay. I use older terms, and that's probably even more dorky. A.D. Mitchell is roasting, and A.D. Mitchell is cooking in the joint practice against the Baltimore Ravens. We'll talk about that. I know the voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor, is going to join us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll talk a little bit more about roasting and cooking. And what's going on with that. That leads up to Thursday, of course. And the day of the golf outing, that is the day preseason game 1 for the Colts. I actually am going to get an hour deep of this show from 3 until 4. And then me and Bill Brooks and Casey Valier and Rick Venturi will take over at 4 o'clock and give you 2 hours of the Colts pregame huddle. I am so excited this year for the Colts pregame shows because we are going to get more Rick Venturi. And not only are we going to get more Rick Venturi for the pregame shows, but more Rick Venturi on this show over the course of the year. We discussed that heavily on Thursday up in Westfield at Colts camp, and I have not been as excited about the start of a season, especially the start of the season where everybody feels that this thing is going to be mediocre at best again. I'm excited because we're going to get Rick a ton in the pregame, and Rick a ton on this show. So you have never been told like it is, how it's going exactly. Then you're going to get told right here between 3 and 6, and I guess a lot of those Sunday mornings when we do the Colts pregame huddle. And we'll start that coming up on Thursday afternoon from 4 until 6. I'll be live at the Legends, and then Casey Valier and Bill Brooks. And Rick, I think Rick's going to be on the phone, but both Casey and Bill will be back here. And that starts yet another season of the Colts pregame huddle and preseason game number 1, where we're going to start eyeballing exactly what these quarterbacks are doing. We'll get the update for you coming up a little bit later on, as I mentioned, with Matt Taylor, who is going to join us on the show coming up. Fever on the road later on tonight. The Fever in L.A., they have an issue, a problem with the L.A. Sparks this season. And no Caitlin Clark, as we well know. But you got that coming at you later on tonight. 9:45 is going to be the pregame coverage with Eddie Garrison, and that is a 10 o'clock tip time. So I'll get through with little pickup basketball about 11, get home in time to watch the second half. It is all good with the Fever. The Fever riding a 5-game win streak. So you get that. I think they have one more, don't they, in Phoenix coming up before the end of the week, and then they're back home coming up on Saturday against Chicago. They're making some headway without Caitlin Clark that I don't think a lot of people felt they were going to be able to make, and I probably would be at the front of that list. Didn't think so. But a higher level of play. Now, some of the teams they have played have not been fantastic. But you have to take care of that. And they certainly have done that as of late. We'll talk that up over the course of the afternoon. I had not seen him play. At some point he's going to be on the show. I actually sent this in like 2 weeks ago. But I had not seen him play at Cal. I had just heard, I mentioned yesterday, the last Friday at our table down in Bargersville, Don Fisher and I will, more than just occasionally, and the lovely Susie Fisher, by the way, will go after this show and hang out at our table down in Bargersville because we love our table with Joe and Ginger in Bargersville. And they will eat, and I will drink and not eat. That's kind of the routine. But we were talking about both IU football and IU basketball. Now, IU basketball is really on the road playing some games in Puerto Rico that you can't see. But I know Don Fisher is on the road with them to check them out with Darren DeVries in year number 1 with a crew that is altogether new. New and fresh, and being able to mold a group is the hope right there. Like, for example, for the most part, friend of this show, Matt Painter, knows what he has. It'll still be molded, but he knows what he has right now. And he's added to what he has. That's why they're probably going to open up the season number 1, if not top 3, or a favorite to win it all. IU, on the other hand, you really don't know. That's why this is a great trip to let dudes get to know their teammates even better. It is, invaluable. But I was talking to Don Fisher about the basketball team and what he likes, about Darren DeVries, in the offseason leading into year number 1 in Bloomington. But he brought up Fernando Mendoza, and the thing that I had known about the IU quarterback is at Cal, there was a lot of talent that he had, but my man absolutely ran for his life on every single snap. Every one. He was running for his life. You'd have to look this up, James, but I think he was sacked 60-plus times a year ago. Is that true? Look up the Cal stats. Fernando Mendoza got sacked 60-plus times a year ago. But I really hadn't seen him play. I'm seeing video of him at practice, and it goes along the line of what I was talking about yesterday. And what Curt Cignetti has brought to IU, and we saw that a year ago with Curtis Rourke, but you saw that if anybody was paying attention to the college football landscape 2 years prior at James Madison. You go out and you get a veteran quarterback and bring him into a situation where you're coaching it up, and that has been the protocol for Cignetti. That's what we saw when they were on that rise at James Madison. That's what we saw a year ago with Rourke, and that's what we're about to witness with Fernando Mendoza coming up this season. A veteran quarterback that has the tools, but, maybe they were still mid-major. Maybe they were at a higher major and things weren't happening as of yet. There was a bit of a log jam at the starter. Or maybe you're at a high major and running for your life. And it really wasn't a good spot for you right then and right there. But I do like the path. It's kind of like the whole scheduling thing. As I've mentioned, if you do things that lead to winning, then you repeat those things. It's like what you do to prepare to play basketball or baseball or football or whatever. You do things repetitiously to where it's second nature. And although you can add things to your repertoire, which is just fine, you still want to go with what got you there. And with the scheduling, that's been a feel-good. That gets you started. We'll see what happens once they hit Illinois after the start of the schedule, as we talked about yesterday. That's fine. But this is something that has worked. The quarterbacks they have brought in, the veteran guys they have brought in for one reason or the other, under Curt Cignetti, whether it was here or at James Madison, that's worked. And that's what he's doing with Mendoza. And there is a lot of excitement because Don had told me a couple of things. He told me that Mendoza's arm is fantastic, but he also told me that this might be the best IU offensive line, which was a major focus that we have seen collectively under any coach here in a long time. So we shall see, and I know that IU working out. Preparation is underway, in fact, for everybody. We can discuss that, a little bit of football if you want to go that direction. We can certainly do that. I mentioned the Fever later on tonight, 9:45, your pregame coverage right here on The Fan, 10 o'clock. Is that tip time from L.A. with the L.A. Sparks for the Fever in the longest road trip of the season. Did you find any evidence of anything over there, James? You look befuddled. Are you not finding? Did you not Google it? Did you not Google?
I Googled it. The
James
website
Googled.
that I found says 41 sacks for
41
Mendoza.
sacks. That's still a high level. What did I say, 60? Maybe I exaggerated a little bit.
That's why I was confused, because this was such a lower number.
Maybe it was
than
just
that.
5,000. Sometimes I exaggerate. He was sacked often a year ago. But that will lead to, the one thing, and I don't know if this has affected everybody, but some of my friends out there that are longtime IU football fans, there is a bit of a beef, and it's a parking beef. I don't know if this has affected everybody, but it's the once upon a time you had better parking than you do right now. And there are a lot of people that have been hardcore down there forever. And I mean with a lot of losing that go, hey, what about this parking situation? And you're not really digging it. That's really the only thing, though, and that has nothing to do, well, I guess it kind of does have something to do with the product on the field. It's better, so, then you create other options for yourself. That's the only beef, though. I didn't have a beef last night. It is so weird. So weird. I knew, and I actually watched it. So if I were going to make something up right now, here's how I would make it up. I knew that the Reds were playing well, even had I not watched it. I knew the Reds were winning, even if I didn't watch it. No, I did. I'm just making this up. But I knew it because I didn't get anything from Corey Kinney. Where's my Corey Kinney stuff? I thought, sure, I was going to get it. Now, if the Cubs were to win, if you don't have a veteran player that misses first base and maybe they tie things up and win it late, I would guess I would be hearing from Cubs fans. But I'm not hearing from Cubs fans today. And, hey, don't take this the wrong way. This is not Reds fans talking junk. We have learned long ago never to talk junk because the team we follow has long-standing stunk. And they are always ready to let you down. Always. Whether it's the ownership or the front office, they are always ready to let you down. I was just really happy last night when Dansby Swanson, who's, I guess, probably played baseball for the better part of his life, forgot to step on first. Shout out to Swanson for doing that. Hit a home run early in the game, 2-run shot, gave the Cubs a lead, and then forgot to step on first, which was a significant moment. And also, I was watching that last night. That's why I mentioned I'm making this up. I was watching that last night, and I thought initially, and this was from the across-the-field angle, that he was safe. And then you look at the behind-the-play angle, and you could see that he didn't step on first before Spencer Steer secured the baseball. And Brian Hayes made a nice play over there at third, too. So I knew, had I not watched it, I knew that things must have been going okay because I didn't hear from anybody. What happened there? Oddly enough, did not hear from anybody. Now, that'll change later on tonight when the Reds get beat by about 500,000. But last night, absolutely nobody. Reds and Cubs from Wrigley last night. It was weird, right? Both starting pitchers went out. Lodolo has his annual blister. Is that kind of like me with my annual cold sore? I will say this, since I've let me knock on some heavy wood right here, because famous last words. I think since I've lost this weight, is there any relation or connectivity between me not suffering from an annual cold sore right here on the right here for years? Is there a losing weight, no cold sore connection to be made here? There's something that's going on in my inner body. Is there a battle waging on to fight cold sores? Because normally there's like an annual cold sore. Normally. But yeah, not now. I didn't know if that had something to do with that. Does that losing weight kind of fight some of the negativity from your body a little bit? Does that help?
It might, yeah.
Maybe it does. I'm not a doctor. Now, you're not either, but you could tell me, I'd probably believe it. Yeah, but normally it's kind of, it's a rite of passage. It's kind of like a cold sore. I'll chalk up the Reds after a win, and then they immediately lose. It's an annual thing. So no Reds fan shouting out anything like that. It was just one game. And we all know as Reds fans what we normally do expect. All right, 239-1070. Rakestraw is going to join us coming up, too. I know we're not too far away from the start of the high school football season. Greg's also the Colts post-game show host. The dual practices, I should say the joint practices, not the dual. They are dueling. Joint practices going on in Baltimore, which is really weird because you go back so many years when the Colts drove here from Baltimore and started all new. Like, we've all forgotten about that here. Many in Baltimore still have not forgotten about that. And now they're matching up in joint practices and a preseason game. Preseason game number 1 coming up on Thursday. 239-1070 is that number. If you want to jump on board, you certainly can. Email address is jmv@1075thefan.com. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Is there somebody to ask, do we still have room for golfers? Am I talking that up? Because the read's not in here. My video's not on the website. Should I be talking this up? Do we still have room? Do we know? Has anybody been informed?
I have not been
informed
of anything.
Can you ask somebody, James, as the producer of this show, by God, can you ask somebody if there's truth to that? Are we full? Are we good? Because I want to have as many people as possible. As many people as possible out there, and I want to make sure if we're full, I want to tell everybody we're full. If we're not, I want to continue to let the doors be open. All right, 239-1070, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Do not go anywhere. Busy Tuesday for you coming up. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
We have tickets to give away to a variety of things. A variety of things. Is tonight Dropkick Murphys and Bad Religion it ever was? Woo! Good friend Doug Wiggins going to that. Doug, enjoy, buddy. I know like one song. What's it called? Shuffling Off to Boston or something like that? Or
Shipping off to Boston.
Shuffling. 21st Century Digital Boy. Is that Bad Religion right there too? Am I just making that up?
I'm
like
shuffling off
to Boston. Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. If you're on hold, I'll get back to you in a second. I promise. Greg Rakestraw is with us now. Hello, Greg. How are you?
Yes, by the way, Bad Religion is 21st Century Digital Boy.
Yes.
I don't know how to read, but I've got a lot of toys.
Did you play that on X103, Indy's new rock alternative, back when people actually listened to it?
I did, and that was one of the songs I enjoyed playing.
Yes, should have been. On CD, did you play it on CD or cart?
Thankfully, we were playing all of the songs off of CD. It was the commercials that were on carts.
Here's what we play. Back when I first started playing CDs, I was at Vincennes every Monday night on WFML 96.7, Hot Country.
Which is the best set of call letters ever, by the way.
Yes. FML. I'm sorry, FML. Yes.
Yep. You said it right. You said
I did?
Nailed
okay.
It. You got it.
I thought I was getting that mixed up with FMS for a minute. FML in Vincennes. It was at Vincennes University. And when we played a song from a CD, we would say, from your country compact disc, it's Eddie Raven and Bayou Boys. Eddie Raven and Bayou Boys.
Okay.
Yeah. True story.
Well, as long as you got the disc part right, you were okay.
Country compact disc.
Yeah.
How do you evaluate what goes on in a camp? I know you put more stock into these joint practices because you're actually playing against another team. But what level of stock do you put in before things actually get real for the start of the season, Greg?
Well, I mean, it's what you're going to be judging these two guys on in terms of the quarterback battle. In terms of the overall capabilities of the team, you got to put something into it, but probably a little bit less. But again, if you're talking about Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, then you put everything in terms of what potentially, practices, meeting room, scrimmages, preseason games. So it's. I think there's a difference here between what you're viewing the team and what you're viewing one specific position battle.
I know you've been up there. I know you also have heard things, read things. Anything stand out to you as far as impressive? Anything stand out to you as far as needs to get into gear at this point during training camp?
No. And again, I think today's practice and obviously Thursday's game and then, what happens next week gives us a better indication. What I'm curious about is, you're probably going to see more of the whoever the starting quarterback is going to be than you would normally see now in most preseason games. Does that carry over to the other first stringers? Does that mean that we see more of Quentin Nelson, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman Jr., et cetera? Some of those guys like Jonathan Taylor, you frankly don't think you need to see him during the preseason, but you need to see him with Anthony Richardson and or Daniel Jones. And so kind of watching that element of it play out is kind of what has my attention. But to be honest with you, while I'm scanning 90 different players to kind of memorize, names, numbers, alma maters, et cetera, just like everybody else, most of my attention is drawn towards the quarterback battle.
Here's Greg Rakestraw on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You give the edge to one or the other so far, unlike the Colts will?
So far, I would lean towards Anthony Richardson just because I do think that he has been improved. I probably went into camp thinking it was more of Daniel Jones's job, but not that Daniel has been bad. I think Anthony has been better, and I've always thought that this was a scenario or a situation where, the tie or the incumbent, if there was not going to be that big of a difference, Anthony Richardson was going to keep the job. Now, do I think that can change over the next 2 or 3 weeks? Absolutely. I do think this is going to be a battle all the way through the final preseason game, even if we don't see either of those guys in that final game against Cincinnati. But so far, I would lean towards Anthony Richardson because I've seen improvement from him, and I have not seen this huge disparity between the two quarterbacks just yet.
It's Greg Rakestraw on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I do want to get to the high school game coming up because practice is officially underway and we're not very far away from it. But collegiately speaking for a moment, I'd mentioned at the outset of the show, I was with Don Fisher at our table in Bargersville on Friday, and he'd mentioned how much he liked Fernando Mendoza. And I'd also had talked about kind of the blueprint, if you will, that Curt Cignetti had even before he got to IU about the quarterbacks that he has brought in. And really for the past 4 seasons, that's worked highly to his advantage. But Don also said that this may be the best IU offensive line that we have seen in years, and I mean in coaching years. In this case, what's your expectation for Curt Cignetti in year 2 with that program, Greg?
You know, the thing is that I'm not sure you can match what they did last year because it was simply so magical. And I'm curious to see kind of what the public reaction is going to be in terms of, you know, is an 8 or 9 win season almost a disappointment? Just because in any other scenario, we would have thrown a parade for the IU head coach if they won 8 or 9 games. And now this time around, it would be 2 or 3 wins less than what you had in the previous year. So, you know, I think it's about, I wouldn't say lowering expectations. It's just about trying to figure out, and I'm not sure any of us have an honest answer to this, to now what is a realistic expectation for this program. I think if this group gets to 9 or 10 wins, then he should be getting votes for Coach of the Year again the way that he had, you know, a season ago.
What about the Purdue Boilermakers and Barry Odom, year number 1? Is it just kind of making progress and survival is what we're talking about in West Lafayette?
Being more competitive. You know, I mean, it was bad enough to be 1-11, but obviously at the end of the season they were so non-competitive, and the schedule isn't much easier. You know, the first couple of games you better get those. If you can steal 1 or 2 in the Big Ten, great. I do think that we are going to grade Barry Odom in year 1 on a significant curve. And people that I know in the business speak very highly of Barry and the staff that he has put together. It's just going to take, to some degree, some time to bring some guys in, even if you can flip a roster now every 12 months. But I think if Purdue is a 3 or 4 win football team, that's probably a job well done in year number 1.
Who jumps off the page? A lot of the usual suspects in high school football as we begin practice throughout the state of Indiana?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I think it's going to be a lot of the similar teams that we saw last year, even if the personnel different. And I mean, frankly, in the 6A classification. You know, I mean, Brownsburg played a 2-quarterback system last year. One of those young men on the Stevens kid was a senior who was their running quarterback. They'll go with Fry, who is the more higher-end recruit who will be a junior this year. While they lose some key defensive pieces, they bring back a lot of skill, and you do that in high school football, you're going to be ahead of the game. I think Lawrence North is going to be good again. You know, maybe they snuck up on some people last year. They won't this year. They had some key losses on both sides of the ball. But when you bring back your top wide receiver in Monshin Sales, you bring back your top running back in Zay Moore, you can kind of figure the other pieces out. I don't think Westfield's going anywhere. I know Center Grove's got a quarterback change, but the young man they have now is very highly thought of. And so I think a lot of the teams that we'll see at the regional and semi-state level, especially in 6A, might be a lot of the very similar teams that we saw a season ago.
When's things officially get underway? How many weeks?
So practice started yesterday, and again, that's the official date of practice. Everybody down to the 1A level has some form of off-season conditioning, off-season workouts, preseason scrimmages, where you're not exactly going out there in pads. You know, that is the old Jamboree exhibition game that will be next Friday. But we are 17 days away from the start of the season. So regular season starts on August the 22nd. Practice officially started yesterday. But believe me, these guys have been working pretty much full bore with the exception of a week or 2 off. Some smaller schools will give their kids that play multiple sports like a month. Like I was talking to a buddy of mine that's the Tipton coach last week. Basically, June was to rest or play your other sports. July was for football, and those kids scrimmaged and did more things against other competition they had in years before, and they felt like they were a month ahead. So while practice started yesterday, everybody's been going full bore at this, for most of the summer.
Greg, on Saturday, Bill Springer passed away at the age of 90.
Yep.
What did he mean to high school basketball or just basketball in general in the state of Indiana?
Well, as well-respected of a guy as you're going to come across, first of all. Secondly, a guy that gave back after his coaching days at Southport, was very active in terms of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. He was also a guy that was the primary caretaker for his wife, who suffered from Alzheimer's for many, many years. Despite that, Bill would still be, at a lot of Hall of Fame events and very active in terms of that. So, simply put, he was as well respected as anybody in terms of the coaching fraternity and others who were around, because, my involvement in the Indianapolis area from sports kind of stems from 1994 on. But, in what was Eric Montross' senior year and where Pike had a loaded team in 1990 and many others, it was Southport that came out of the Indianapolis sectionals / regional / semi-state to make it to that historic Final Four with 40+ thousand at the Hoosier Dome back then. So that clearly is his crowning achievement from a coaching standpoint. But as most will tell you, Bill played a much bigger role in terms of mentorship, life lessons, and being a true teacher of the game and the cultivator of young men. That far superseded the vast number of wins that he had as a high school basketball coach.
He is Greg Rakestraw, live at the State Fair with the JMV Takeover coming up on Saturday night. We await your call.
I'll either call before a 7 o'clock kickoff because we're doing a road match in the studio. I'll call like after 9:15 or 9:30 after we sign off, or heck, I'm doing the broadcast from like 25 blocks away. There may be an unscheduled celebrity pop.
That would be awesome right there. You and Laura Steele and DJ Skids. I'm telling you what, that's like an old school ensemble match game cast right there. I love it.
Now, are we doing this from the Hog Barn? Where's our setup at?
No, well, the Hog Barn will be there, but it will be with me.
Okay.
We'll be inside the tap room. The tap room.
Oh, I know where the tap room's at. I can find that.
Which is also a pretty sweet euphemism I can go by, too. The Hog Barn and the tap room.
There you go.
All right, my brother. I'll look for you out there. Hopefully we can see you.
You got it, buddy. Be good.
So Greg Rakestraw on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Quick break. We'll come back. If you're on hold, I'm going to get to you. I have plenty of time at the 4 o'clock hour. I think Alec Pierce, Colts wide receiver, is going to join us from Owing Mills, Maryland, coming up here at some point. I think. They just broke from practice. And we'll see. Hopefully he's got a little bit of time. We can do that. I know Matt Taylor coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. Sit tight. Don't go anywhere. Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day. And a load of tickets we shall give away on this Tuesday with 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Fan.
I got tickets for you, number 9 at 239-1070. What the hell am I going on? Hold on a second. I go, man, I can't hear out of that one at all. Modest Mouse and the Flaming Lips coming up the 11th. That is a week from last night at Everwise Amphitheater, White River State Park. If you would like to go, number 9 at 239-1070. You can go on us. Go on me. That's going to be an absolute blast. All right, Alec Pierce is going to join us coming up here around the top of the hour, so be ready for that. The Colts wide receiver and the Colts and the Ravens in a joint practice earlier today. Shane Steichen says, and this is, I think, what a lot of people thought, Anthony Richardson will start Thursday night in preseason game 1. Week 2 versus Green Bay at Lucas Oil Stadium goes to Daniel Jones. Steichen said that both would play a good amount in the first 2. So that's when we're going to start keeping records, I would assume. That's true. We had a little fisticuffs going on out there today. Multiple punches being thrown. See, that's the one thing in these joint practices that the coaches absolutely hate is jackassery. It's tough to get around it. It just happens, right? This apparently was Ravens star cornerback Nate Wiggins. A.D. Mitchell got him in 11-on-11, talking some junk. He got angry, and punches were flying. We'll ask that of Alec Pierce. He probably won't answer it very thoroughly, but we'll ask him anyway. He's going to join us coming up here at the top of the hour. But again, you get Anthony Richardson coming up on Thursday in Baltimore, and then Green Bay in preseason game 2 a week from Saturday. Daniel Jones is going to get to start. So if you're keeping track, start keeping track. JMV, are you going to go see Toto, Christopher Cross, and Men at Work tomorrow night? Indeed, I will. I'll get up there at some point in time to go through the Premier Lounge with AAA. Hey, by the way, too, if you're not a AAA member, what are you doing? You go to Ruoff, you get perks, AAA membership lounge, like what we have right here. It's called the Premier Lounge. Get early entry. Got the same thing going on at Symphony on the Prairie, same thing going on with the Indians. What are you doing? First of all, you got to have somebody on the road that has your back, right? 24/7, 365, that's AAA. But all these perks for the fun stuff that you do, when you're out holding the line because you know that love isn't always on time with Steve Lukather and Toto, and you don't have a AAA membership, what are you doing? Make sure you have that today. JMV, were you kind of making light of Cubs fans a little bit earlier? He in fact, was not. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Alec Pierce going to join us coming up on the other side. Sit tight. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
The sportos, the motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, do you guys want to hear me sing a Toto song? Africa, Hold the Line. Ooh, I'll do Pamela for you. Rosanna. I can do that if you want. Shane Steichen says Anthony Richardson gets the start Thursday against the Ravens preseason game 1, preseason game 2 a week from Saturday at Lucas Oil Stadium against Green Bay. That follows up a joint gathering with the Packers and the Colts here. It will be Daniel Jones, if you are keeping track at home regarding that. Alec Pierce, Colts wide receiver, he joins us coming up in a couple of minutes. Fever later on tonight, 9:45. Eddie Garrison, he has your pregame, your halftime, and your postgame coverage later on tonight on The Fan. Hey, the Sparks, a bit of pain for the Fever this season. Fever won 5 straight, looking for number 6 tonight. And we got it for you right here on The Fan. IndyCar this weekend on the road in Portland is their location. You know, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. James did some research and asked our executive producer, Todd Meyer, and we still have some spots available if you guys do want to join. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. And our golf outing to benefit Franciscan, I thought because they yanked the video down and everything down that maybe, I know we have a ton going, but we always have room for more. You guys have responded incredibly, and thank you very much. We have so much happening at Legends on Thursday, it may require me to get up at 6 a.m. and go down there really early. So a shout out to you guys for that. But it should be a blast. I don't care if you don't like golf, right? This is going to be more entertaining than live with you golfing and me shooting jumpers, having beverages, eating some food. It's going to be a fantastic time. Legends coming up on Thursday. That actually is going to start an incredible weekend for me and you and all of us together that I'll get back into coming up in just a bit. Yeah, watched the Reds and the Cubs last night start up a series from Wrigley. Both starting pitchers went down for a couple of different reasons. Nick Lodolo for the Reds was looking so good. And then, much like what I used to have in an annual cold sore, got his annual blister on his throwing hand. So he had to come out of the game, and that was a bummer because he was throwing it well. But hey, shout out. Normally I don't give him shout outs to Ashcraft and to Barlow and Nick Martinez a little bit. Santillan, Pagan. So with that parade of pitchers, the Reds end up getting it done in game number 1. I will say this, after the weekend that they had and had to do all that jackassery in Bristol and the rain and all that was an absolute mess, a disaster, that was a nice bounce back for them. But I did sit and watch the entirety of the game, and it's really weird. Like, it came down to Dansby Swanson basically missing first base, where the Cubs could have tied it up, but instead it was the inning-ending third out. Run didn't score, then the Reds held it down with their pitching. Same 2 coming up later on tonight, by the way. In Wrigley Field in Chicago, if you're keeping track of a little MLB right now. I'd mentioned yesterday, too, maybe the hottest player post-All-Star break is from Huntingburg, Indiana, the pride of Southridge High School. That's Colson Montgomery. Incredible he has been since the All-Star break. For the Chicago White Sox, they don't give you very many reasons to pay attention to the Chicago White Sox, and rarely have they. That is a good reason if you're from the Hoosier State to pay a little bit of attention to the Chicago White Sox. Because he was, or has been, certainly since the All-Star break, absolutely fantastic. Colson Montgomery, who was a multi-time star athlete coming out of Southwestern Indiana and Huntingburg and Southridge High School. Cardinals-Dodgers, too, coming up later on tonight. That is an MLB Network performance from Chavez Ravine tonight at 10:10, if you're keeping track of that at home. I did see this as well before we end up getting Alec Pierce on here when he calls from that joint practice earlier today. Owing Mills, Maryland is the location as they prep for that Thursday night of the preseason game 1 with the Colts and the Ravens. Alec Pierce is going to join us coming up in a couple of minutes. But I did see this. Rick Carlisle was with Caitlin Cooper, who has a website, I think, and does a lot of video breakdowns of the Pacers, podcast stuff online, where she had a conversation with Rick Carlisle, and he said going into the season, to start at the 2, that their thought is it's going to be Benedict Mathurin. And while nobody had said anything about it, and you kind of wonder, it all stands to reason. There, to me, is something there that has yet to be tapped. And I know that I'm kind of over the top in my embrace of this team and what I expect out of this team. You know, losing Halliburton for the season, losing Miles Turner for the remainder of his career, going to Milwaukee, and now being vilified, becoming the villain in Milwaukee now. But I do have a deeply rooted belief, and part of that belief is that of Mathurin, the maturation and the growth. And really, this being that opportunity, if there is anybody that would embrace this opportunity to finally become, to evolve into what certainly he had hoped in a situation he had hoped, this is it. So to me, it makes plenty of sense as to why, and should be of no surprise. Again, I'm going to be shocked. I'll be floored if this team is not competitive. It doesn't surprise everybody with their level of competitiveness this season. Everybody writes them off. They're always so good in that category of lack of respect or being written off. And this is, to me, the ultimate going into the season. So that news probably not surprising to anybody. I just think it's perfect for him. Really is. Jim McCann of Southern California says our friend Greg Rakestraw said he was curious to see if other Colts starters will see more preseason playing time due to the quarterback competition. Come on now. Do we really want them subjected to the additional risk of injury? No. I will say this, though, Jim. I do agree with what Greg had to say regarding that, too. I think you're going to have to. I think it goes hand in hand. If you're going to have guys out there that are competing, you kind of have to make this as equal as possible. That is a delicate balance that you speak of right there. And while normally in the preseason I would side on caution because of the injury type of situations that could evolve, but I do think you're going to see a great deal of that. Rex writes this: what kind of food will be at the golf outing? Tuna and cottage cheese. Only for me, my brother. I'm not going to subject you to foods that you don't dig, and I'm assuming tuna and cottage cheese is something, Rex, you don't dig. Beverages will be there. We're going to be shooting. You're going to be shooting me for, not shooting me literally, but basketball, jump shooting me for beverages, which is strong. Jeanette writes this: JMV, the song you should play is Cruel Summer after whatever you said was pushing your buttons. Audio problems, cursing, etc. Yes. Cruel Summer by the awesomeness that is Bananarama. All right, Alec Pierce here, hopefully coming up in a minute. Is he changing? They're always really good about getting him. We'll wait on Alec Pierce. We got Matt Taylor coming up after 5. Greg Rakestraw a little bit earlier. Podcast 1075thefan.com. Mike in Brooklyn. See, I'm going to bring Mike in Brooklyn on because as soon as we do that, Alec Pierce is going to call in. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Hey, JMV.
I'm going to bring you on. I'm going to bring you on because I know as soon as I do that Alec Pierce is going to call in. Go ahead, brother.
I got you. I'll clean up a little thing. First,
That's okay. We got time. I'll let you know.
Total, I Will Remember is one of my favorite songs. Great video, too, so don't overlook it.
I Will Remember by Skid Row?
No, I Will Remember by Toto.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Well done right there. I had a couple.
James almost.
I had a couple of I Will Remember Skid Row, and then there's a Madonna one, too. There's a number of I Will Remember type of songs out there. Well done with the Toto reference, though. Good job.
Yeah, one of my favorite songs. It reminds me of A Long Lost Love.
Tomorrow night, me and Steve Lukather are going to hang. Hey, by the way, guess what just happened? You want to wait? You care waiting on hold because Alec Pierce. I told you as soon as I put you on here, Alec Pierce was going to call in.
Go ahead, do what you got to do.
Mike in Brooklyn, I'm going to put you on hold. We're going to get to Alec Pierce. So, Mike, hang on. We'll get to Mike. Mike in Brooklyn, New York called, and I knew as soon as I took Mike's call from Brooklyn, New York, that our guest would be on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. He is Colts wide receiver Alec Pierce, who joins us now from Owing Mills, Maryland. Hello, Alec. How are you?
Good. How are you?
How'd things go this afternoon for you?
Oh, they went well. I can only speak just on the offensive side, but offensively, it felt like we did a good job. It's good to go against different people, and yeah, it's good to be out there.
Is it taken to a different level? I mean, the normalcy is when you're in camp and you're going against your own teammates. A situation like this and these joint practices take this to a different level.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely real intense out there. It's definitely your teammates. You look out for them and stuff. You're not going to really hit them and stuff like that. You can kind of get away with a little bit more against a different team. So he's good. Solid.
What have you liked about what you've performed? How you performed so far? What do you like about what you have accomplished so far in camp?
I like that I've been doing some other things, running some more routes, kind of moving around, doing some different things. So I just hope to continue building on that as camp goes on.
What were you working on this off season? What was your focus going into this year that you wanted to get better at?
Working a lot of releases, working a lot of top of routes, basically just getting better, more technically sound throughout my game.
Have you seen yourself become a little bit more of the focus defensively here in the past year or so? And obviously when you're a rookie, you're getting used to things, rookie season, going into your early stages of your career, it's kind of an evolutionary process for you too. But have you seen defenses kind of ratchet you down a little bit more, knowing what you can do, especially down the field?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see what happens when the season happens. But, I think going against our defense, I think sometimes I feel a little bit more safety presence and stuff like that, just kind of being conscious of keeping me in front and stuff like that. So that's just something I'm going to have to work through and figure out ways to attack that.
He is Alec Pierce, Colts wide receiver. Joint practices continue in Maryland. And then, of course, they get the Ravens coming up in preseason game 1. On Thursday night, you'd mentioned you can only speak for yourself, and I respect that a great deal. But what do you see out of your wide receiving teammates, your wide receiving room right now, that impresses you about this group?
Yeah, I've just been impressed across the board. I think we got a lot of depth. We got a lot of great players. Obviously, the top Pitt's a veteran. He's our leader. Josh Downs is just so consistent. He's always in there making plays, especially those tough third downs, moving the chains, just always getting open. And then I've been, really impressed this camp with A.D. Mitchell, just kind of coming a long way from year 1 to year 2, just the growth he's had. Super talented player. We see a ton of press coverage. He's just been excelling against that. So, but yeah, and then, Ashton Doolin, Anthony Gould, Quan Treadwell, DJ Montgomery. There's been a lot of good things out of a lot of guys. So, I think we're in a room, and I think that's credit to, Reggie just kind of getting us all right.
Yeah, he is Alec Pierce with us. I want to ask you about A.D. Mitchell, your teammate here in your wide receiving room. A lot is made about him trying to come along and kind of find his niche, his groove, if you will, right here. What do you see in him as a wide receiving talent that maybe the average person or anybody like me, for example, that maybe we wouldn't see that you see on a daily basis talent-wise that stands out to you about him?
Yeah. No, you can come out there and see him at practice. He just excels against one-on-one coverage. It's really hard for guys to get hands on him at the line. Like he'll make defender look silly. They have he's really hard time, guarding him and stuff. So I think that's all it comes down to. At receiver, if guys are gonna play man coverage, if they can't guard you in one-on-one stuff like that, they're gonna be in trouble. So, I know he's incredibly talented and he's got all the tools. And I think it's gonna be a big year for him.
Here's Alec Pierce, Colts wide receiver. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline with us. We thank him for joining us. Quarterback-wise, besides the obvious in what we see, give me some of the differences as when you're getting a thrown a football from Anthony Richardson compared to Daniel Jones that you have to get used to as a wide receiver on that team.
Yeah. Honestly, it's not too much differences. I think I almost don't even know who it was. Like, if I think back to practices and the balls I caught today, I probably couldn't even tell you who was throwing me the football, because they're changing in so much. But yeah, no, they're both, and that's like a credit to both of them. They both throw a great ball, both spinning, strong arm, stuff like that. So, yeah, and I'm excited to see where this thing goes, and I'm confident in both of them.
I know that you probably noticed things that obviously we do not. Give us something that you've noticed that is different about each of these guys that maybe we haven't. I mean, we know about the athleticism, the arm strength, and maybe, Daniel Jones has got a little sneaky athleticism, but something you've noticed out of each that maybe the average person watching would not notice out of both of those quarterbacks.
Yeah. That's a good question. I'm not really sure what I would say for that. I'd have to think about that.
Are there, I guess, you are kind of speaking volumes here. So there are a lot of similarities, I guess, in this case that you're suggesting that the average person wouldn't see that you would because you work with them every day.
Yeah, for sure. I think they've both done a great job, man, in the huddle, being great leaders, stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, other than obviously just them being in there and physical appearance and just their voice in the huddle, like it's not too much different. You definitely had a fucking up for something.
It's Alec Pierce on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. One final thing before I let you go. So, were there some fights going on out there today?
Not too much, no.
Just is it the normal stuff? Because, I mean, listen, you guys got to be a little bit feisty, right? Because you're going against one another, and you can't be feisty with one another. So you get out there against a different team, and it's just kind of something that is going to happen, right? And the one thing your head coach, Alec, your head coach has told me this before, Shane Steichen, that's really the last thing you want. You know that it's going to happen, but you can't have it escalate. How do you keep that from going on, disrupting practice where it's really detrimental to what you're trying to get done?
Yeah, no, they had, we have NFL officials out there, and they conducted like a game. If you got in a fight out there, they kicked you out of practice. So we had we had a little scuffle out there. It wasn't anything too serious, but I think they, quickly shut that down, and anyone who threw a punch in that, they got them out of there. So people don't want to miss practice. People are trying to make the team, and that's not a good look for you if you want to make the team. So,
did we have a Michael Pittman Jr. salty moment out there at all with the defense of the Ravens? Was there a salt? Because normally he's got a salty kind of. I'm a little salty moment. Was there one today?
Yeah. Nothing too much. No.
Well, listen, man. It's not a real deal if you don't get a salty moment out there from Michael Pittman Jr., which is weird, too, because he's completely opposite when you talk with him. But when he gets out there, that's when you're liable. Yeah. You're going to – and I think that's kind of the fuel to his fire to a degree, is it not?
for sure.
Yeah. It's Alec Pierce, Colts wide receiver on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on here. Tell Christian thank you very much, and Matt for putting you on. Stay healthy over the course of camp out there, and have a great preseason game number 1. How much do you expect to play coming up on Thursday night? Have they told you?
They haven't told me yet, no. I'll hear that shortly.
Yeah. Alec Pierce with us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Alec, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys.
It's Alec Pierce with us. There was a lot going on in the background right there. Was it like 9 conversations going on in the background? I felt bad for him because I think he was hearing them and then me and everything.
It sounded like he was in a busy room.
Busy room for Alec Pierce. Happens. Shout out to the Colts for doing that, though. Because we know around here others wouldn't. Don't we? Hey, by the way, speaking of others, have you heard back from others recently that you reached out to here locally?
Are we talking about a certain team?
I'm just curious.
I have heard nothing.
Zero. Silence.
Zilch.
Crickets. Well, hell.
And I hit up an entire PR department, essentially, and nothing.
It's weird. It's weird. One of these days, it won't be the same. That's tough.
There's a adage about playing with fire and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I get where you're going there, and I'm not suggesting it's that big of a deal, but there is a term called out of sight, out of mind, where you don't want to slide into that category. That's what you don't want. And part of the issue is with that, like I just had a Colts wide receiver with 19 different people in a tent come on here after a practice, right? And I give Alec credit because that's a hard-ass interview right there because you're barely hearing me on a cell phone, and then you got all these other voices in the background. But, man, they're making the effort. And then once football season starts, that's when you get out of sight, out of mind. That's the only thing I would guard against. And the reason why I feel comfortable in bringing this up is because I've done this for 25 years, and I know it. And it doesn't take much. I also know that. So just some advice where ultimately it probably doesn't matter.
We just need to get in contact with that physical trainer again.
See, I'm telling you what, that guy was awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was, but he was all, here's the phone. Right there. Boom.
That should be the PR
During
department
treatment.
right there.
During treatment. And remember how Lexi was awesome. Awesome. That's what you want. You don't want out of sight, out of mind, which is on the inbound. Mike's in Brooklyn. Mike, I owe you this finish to the phone call right there. Thanks for the hold, buddy. What's up?
No, thank you. It's really cool. I feel like a radio
I know. Well, you should have
now.
jumped in, too, because I think Alec had like 19 voices around him right there.
Yeah. He was definitely, there was definitely a lot going on there.
Yeah, it was a lot. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, so I want to get your take here because, the Irsay's daughters, I've been impressed with what I've heard from them so far, especially Carly, and I've noticed her, being involved a lot over the past few years. And the approach that she's taken, I think, would be exactly the same approach that I would have taken if I was going to be groomed, to take over. What's your thoughts on like what's gonna change? Is there going to be major differences? There's going to be some change, but
I think that Jim, and I like that. I like that he was out there and he was interactive with everybody. You're not going to get that, right? I mean, you're not going to get that whatsoever. But I get what you're saying about, trying to, soak up absolutely every ounce you possibly can. And I think that is certainly the right path for Carly to take right there. I just, if people are wondering, the thing about Jim that was to me so cool is that, especially when he was healthy and feeling good, he was out there with absolutely everybody. And I think we know, Mike, that this place loves that. We love that. Yeah. We grow up loving that. Everybody's like everybody else. And, you see people out, you don't bug them, but you get, the recognition. Hey, I know that from the football field. I know that person, from the basketball court. And, when they recognize you and they're just kind of out there with you, I just think that this is a place that embraces that maybe more than others or larger markets might. And that's something you're not going to get, or at least it does not appear you're going to get with Carly. But, following a design of trying to know as much as you can about the business and maybe something that you paid attention to, but now it's going to be your major focus. Preparation was key. And, preparation in football or really anything is about as key as you can get.
Right. And listen, I over the weekend I noticed, I'll finish up, I noticed Bill Polian was with Marv Levy, and it was his birthday, 100 years old. God bless him.
Yeah, no doubt.
Maybe this is an ideal time for, they don't call it head of football operations, but somebody like that, they're calling it senior advisors right now. I think if she was intelligent, she would be looking at a Bill Polian or, Tony Dungy. Maybe they could steal Bruce Arians away from Tampa Bay as some kind of senior advisor. Is this year just going to be just a total evaluation year?
Well, I mean, I think Bruce Arians has, I don't know how common this is, but I think he's offered up his opinion on Anthony Richardson, and I wouldn't think that he would come in and advise for that. So I wouldn't, knowing what I've heard, I don't think he would have too much intention of coming in and advising that, but you're probably looking at right now what it is, and then we'll see if a change indeed happens coming up after this season, how deeply they go. And if they do embrace some of the past, or if they, just continue moving down the road with a new and fresh feel for this team.
Yeah, I gotta be more practical. I do. I got like a Jekyll and Hyde.
Dude, I listen. Hey, Mike, man, I live in the past like crazy. Everybody knows that. I completely live in the past, and the voices, especially those that were incredibly successful, that were here, are always going to be leaned upon as very important. I was going to ask this question, and I'll lead this into the break here. I often think about whether or not Colts fans would rather have, a nice season, a making the playoff season, or a bad season and trying to get Arch Manning for the future. I would bet most would go with the Arch Manning angle right now.
Yeah, I heard a lot of that.
Yeah.
But I'm not built that way. I can
I can't.
They say, "Oh, I want them to lose."
I can't live in a world of tanking either, brother. I can't. I'm right there with you. Hey, Mike in Brooklyn, I appreciate you. We'll do it again soon. Stay in touch.
All right, Jamie. Thank you. Take
Quick
care.
break. We shall return. Alec Pierce, Colts wide receiver from Owing Mills, Maryland. The joint practice between the Colts and the Ravens a little bit earlier. And a shout out to the Colts for getting him on here. Podcast 1075thefan.com. Greg Rakestraw a little bit earlier. Also, staked out in the state of Maryland, Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts. He joins us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. More tickets to give away as well, and a busy rest of the week. We shall indulge you with that information coming up. Sit tight. Also, the Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day after 5 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Anthony will start on Thursday. The plan is for him to play about a quarter and a half and then get Daniel about a half a quarter. In a perfect world, that's how I want it to play out. And then the following week against Green Bay, Daniel will start, get about a quarter and a half, and then Anthony will play about a half quarter.
Shane Steichen a little bit earlier. That is going to be the path beginning on Thursday for the Colts quarterbacks. Of course, you can hear it right here. I start with the pregame show during my show at the Fan Golf Outing presented by Franciscan Health coming up on Thursday. So I'll do 3 until 4. I'll yap you with the normal stuff. And then 4 until 6, me, Bill Brooks, Casey Valier, and Rick Venturi will take you as a part of the Colts pregame huddle. It's coming up on Thursday. That's preseason game 1. Anthony Richardson to start. Preseason game 2, a week from Saturday versus Green Bay. It is going to be Daniel Jones time, everybody. JMV, did I hear you say that maybe it's time to shelf for the shoe? I do. What did we find out? A game under 500 since For the Shoe was concocted 5+ years ago, whatever. Yeah, I think it's okay. I don't have a good idea. Normally, when you say, you know what, it's probably time to put something like this to an end, you have a pretty good idea as to what is going to be next. I don't know if I have a pretty good idea as to what should be next. Is that bad? And also, I do realize this. All that matters is what happens on the field. All of this other stuff is jackassery. And the reason why I brought it up earlier to Jake in our crossover is because that is what is going up once again on the side of the JW Marriott. So, yeah, I did say maybe it's time to find, and you know, certainly you probably do if the season doesn't go well and you basically start new, right? Shout out to Andrew. I got you loud and clear on Geist. I'm on Geist with Andrew right now. Nice boat. Shout out to Andrew on Geist. So, yeah, I think I'd be okay if they would shelf for good For the Shoe, and we came up with something better. But I don't have an idea as to what it is. Thus, that makes me kind of a wiener because I bring something up like that without a quality solution or really any solution whatsoever. How about, can we just freaking win sometime soon? That's probably not good. One of these days? How about tomorrow? Something like that this weekend? Winning would be nice. Are these all quality ideas? These are all just flowing. BT says no more pregame with the Gorman. No. I've already gone off about that like twice. So, yeah. No, it's not your fault, BT, at all. Yeah, one of these days, relatively soon, that is a guy that they will miss. True story. JMV, are you like a lime green fake wiener? I am not. I should have a better solution. Winning. Hey, it would be nice. I think something with a nice comma in it. A little punctuation involved in the new slogan. Yes. Tyler writes this, JMV, if Benedict Matherin thrives being the starting 2 guard, what do you think that means in regards to Nembhard once Tyrese comes back? Hey, Tyler, I am impossibly awful to ask this, and here's why. Because I look at the positional play as a load of, get the dump button ready, BS. Complete. If you are a top 5 player on this team at basketball and, well, you know, you don't play that position, I would have to say my ass. Seriously, zero way. I keep all high-quality basketball players. I don't give a fat crap about 1 through 5. I don't. That's just me. But if Benedict Mathurin turns out to be playing the 2, I think Andrew Nemhard is on the rise. We know what Tyrese Halliburton is. I'm not in the business of trading away good high-level players because others suggest that they play the same position. JMV, I missed your rant on the Gorman being gone. I hate that he's not with them. Seemed like a really good dude. Pea-stained shorts, classic. He used to say, I used to wear basketball shorts and stuff all the time, coming in, playing basketball, obviously, in the mornings for our pregame show, and he would call them pea-stained. Of course, they weren't pea-stained. They may have been later, but they weren't at that moment. Nah. He is going to be missed. I'm telling you, everybody needs, and it's not me, but everybody needs a hype man. Everybody's got a hype man. Pacers have a hype man. Eddie White. Eddie White's a hype man. There's nothing wrong with it. It's necessary. The Gorman was the hype man for the Colts. They're going to absolutely miss that. Correct? Nick Martin says, so this from Colts.com, has this been addressed? I don't remember seeing this the other day. Check out the quarterback. Yeah, we actually did yesterday, Nick. Talk about Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. That's what they were going by. Or I know this says first. I don't know. Is this from Colts.com right here? There's zero way that's Colts.com. They're not going to put Anthony Richardson second string on the depth chart. Because from what I saw, hey, Nick, from what I saw, it was or, and that was the major discussion. Thank you, Jeff. There it is. What's this say? Our city. What's this boss thing up here? What's that? Jeff just took a picture of what's going up. The Colts stuff on the side of the JW Marriott. For the city, for the boss. I'm sorry. That makes sense now. I'm sorry. For the city, for the boss, for the shoe. Hey, I would say this. I would dump for the shoe right now and put for the boss 100%. What do you think, James? For the boss?
I like for the boss.
Shoe, for the boss.
I think that's a great slogan.
I'm going to start that right. For the boss. For the city, for the boss, for the shoe. I would go with singularly for the boss. I do dig that. Ron is at 239-1070 right now, Ron. For the boss. I dig it. The Colts came up with that. Not me, not us, but the Colts. What do you got?
JMV, I got win for Jim.
Oh, see? I like it. When you're going for Jim Irsay, I like that. You like for the boss, though? I don't know who came up with that. Somebody out there came up with that. That's good. I like that.
I like them both, but Jim being the boss, win for Jim.
I like it, buddy.
Have a good day,
Thank you, Ron, for the call. Tony Donahue, what about hoist it? That's going to be my slogan. No, hoist it. Yeah, for the boss is good. Completely agree with that. Brandon writes this. Tying it back to a recent comment, maybe we should just need better arch for the shoe. Better arch for the shoe. I will say this. I have come across far many more Colts fans out there that would rather see Arch Manning here and have this season be a mess. And what that does, that speaks to collectively the confidence level that you have in what around here is going to work. Now, I am dead set against tanking of any sort, any kind, any way. And really, you guys don't want that either. You don't want to pay the price of admission, and I know that a lot of you probably feel that way right now, just going to the games in general, but you really, truly don't want to know that somebody's not trying. I think not trying would far outweigh just in general terms being unsuccessful, would it not? I dig that. For the boss, I dig. A lot of people do. One Arch Manning. David Michael says, instead of for the boss, how about the mediocrity continues? Yeah.
That's a slogan that will sell some tickets right there.
Yeah. And, David's right. Until further notice, that's what you have to go on right there. Fever later on tonight, they have been, far better than mediocre in the past 5 games. They're unbeaten in the past 5, going for 6 in a row against a team this season that has been a pain in the ass for them. So we're going to get a little Kelsey Plum. What's Kelsey Plum going to do anything tonight that's outrageous? What's her problem? She's got a problem, doesn't she? What is her problem? Is her problem with Caitlin Clark or just...
I'm not sure. I mean, it seems like
she
a lot of them.
just walk into a joint with a problem.
It seems like a lot of them have a little bit of an issue with Caitlin Clark.
They do, don't they? You think Kelsey Plum realizes that nobody really would care? But I will say this, not that nobody would care, but they care to a different level because of that. I'm not suggesting that, you always have to go around and, at least everybody cares at a higher level because of you. Still be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have to be a horse's ass? Do you? Does that?
I don't think you need to, but
yeah.
Speaking of horses, I was just about to make a reference to a looking a gift horse in the mouth or something along those lines. So,
there you go. Nate in Nashville says Arch is unproven. Some fans are delusional. I will say this: the fan base here, Nate, is not delusional. They are fed up and tired, brother. There's no delusion there. And when it comes with the last name, people are going to more buy in and believe into that than anything else, and for good reason. So I don't think it's a delusional fan base here. It is a fed up and sick and tired fan base that's here. Thank you, Nate. Let me take a break. I shall return on the other side with Matt Taylor coming up at the top of the hour. I dig for the boss. Tomorrow's show will explain, and then on the road, Thursday and Friday, and then Saturday, and then Sunday. We are all over the place. I'll explain how you can join me. I'll explain if you've ever thought that you could outshoot me in a game of basketball, Thursday is going to be your opportunity. Now, I'm going to whip your ass, but Thursday is going to be your opportunity to try to prove yourself. And by the way, somebody had told me, too, that it's okay if I shoot with an indoor ball outdoors. So an indoor ball will be utilized outdoors. Shout out to Carlton Mills, Duck of Noblesville. Ducks of Noblesville, D-U-C-T-Z of Noblesville. Carlton Mills is bringing the goal in the back of a truck. Why didn't I come up with that idea? Just genius. Quick break. Back with you next.
You think I'd join this crummy snobatorium? But this whole place sucks. That's right, it sucks.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, Kansas and Jefferson Starship. October the 10th. Got a couple of tickets for you right now. Actually, I was going to give a shout out. Let me see if I can find where I need to give this shout out here. I believe it was to Bill Kirsch. Bill Kirsch said, JMV, regarding yesterday's show discussion about Jefferson Starship and Starship. Jefferson Starship was the 70s reforming of Jefferson Airplane. The late Paul Kantner founded both groups. He left in 84 because of the musical differences. The band continued on, so he sued over their use of the name that included original Airplane members Grace Slick and David Freiberg. The settlement led to the band changing their name to Starship. Freiberg left Starship and later rejoined Kantner's recreation of Jefferson Starship in the middle 2000s. At 86 years old, he's still with them and the only original member left. Grace Slick would later leave Starship and retire, leaving Mickey Thomas as the only original member. He had joined Jefferson Starship in the late 70s after longtime member Marty Ballin left. Thomas came from the Elvin Bishop group, fooled around and fell in love, if you remember that, as their lead singer. Quite a history. Bill Kirsch, the history of Jefferson Starship right there, and the difference between that and Starship. That's well done, buddy. Thank you, Bill. And he wrote so much right there, I felt it only necessary for me to recap all of it. This is a Frontline benefit show coming up October the 10th, by the way, too. Everwise Amphitheater, White River State Park, number 9 at 239-1070 is going to go. Jefferson Starship and Kansas, October the 10th. All right, quick break. We shall return. Am I that far over? Whoa. What have I been talking about the last hour? Alec Pierce a little bit earlier, the podcast from the Colts wide receiver. Owings Mills, Maryland, after their joint practice with the Ravens. He joined us a little bit earlier in the hour. Greg Rakestraw also a little bit earlier in the show. Harris Hoosier Park race of the day, 50 in betting, 50 in dining, coming up after 5 o'clock. Get a horse at JMV 1070. That's your chance to win. The news on Benedict Matherin, the fever on the road. Reds and Cubs, part 2 later on tonight. And more Colts conversation. We've got a preseason game 1 and a starting quarterback. Preseason game 1 starter and a preseason game 2 starter announced by Shane Steichen today. That conversation with the voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor, is coming up next. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, my goodness. Isn't it nothing but the 90s weekend on B105.7, where I'm going to be live at the Tap Room, brought to you by the Indiana Donor Network for the JMV Takeover at the Indiana State Fair with DJ Skids and Laura Steele and me, Saturday night. What is the date when this album was released? Because basically all within the same month or a couple of weeks or weekend, you had like 5 incredible albums that all popped together back in 1991.
August 27th, 1991.
So it was that, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, Red Hot Chili Peppers. The GNR ones, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. Metallica, Black. Soundgarden, Bad Motorfinger. Either on the same day, the same week, or in the general stinking vicinity of each one. Maybe the best release in the history of music. Moments in history, 1991. Am I right about that? I think Bad Motor. Oh, Nevermind was I didn't bring up Nevermind by Nirvana. That's in there too. Double back to that in a second. I do have a serious question to ask. By the way, Alec Pierce a little bit earlier, Colts wide receiver. Podcast 1075thefan.com. Greg Rakestraw a little bit earlier. You can also find that on a podcast. Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day coming up later on this hour. I'll be at Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino on Friday with you. We're going to be celebrating a couple of different times at Sid's in Noblesville. I'm just going to drop by on Friday night, so I'll look for you there. And then a live show with me coming up on Sunday at Sid's in Noblesville as we celebrate 80 years with Brian and the gang at Sid's. I love it. But a serious question, and I know our next guest will provide a serious answer. So my friend Brian Neer, who keeps track of all my finances, Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, Brian Neer. So he goes to River Bend to see Toto, Men at Work, and Christopher Cross on Sunday. So he brings back a Christopher Cross concert tee for me. So, normal procedures would be not to wear the concert shirt of the band or the artist that you're going to see. Now, is it different if we're talking about kind of light rock, yacht rock Christopher Cross? Am I allowed to rock that, or is it still against the rules of attending a concert? Wearing the concert T-shirt of the band that you're going to see.
See, I didn't even realize that was against the rules.
Oh, it's completely against the rules. Yes. PCU. Did you not watch PCU, the film in the 90s?
No.
Yeah. It's against the rules.
Good to know, I guess.
Yeah. Jeremy Piven. That's before he got the makeover. Like I guess I'm kind of going through myself like a Jeremy Piven makeover right here. Yeah. He went through that because he looked like George Costanza in the 90s, and then he looked younger and completely different in the 2000s for Entourage. But in PCU, that was the rule. No concert tee of the band that you're going to see.
Is it like bad luck, like walking under a ladder type situation?
I think there's some sort of douchery, I think, effect as a part of it on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Connoisseur of rock music and classic rock music, the voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor, joins us. So is this true? Can you not wear the concert tee of the band or the artist that you're going to see?
So you and I have talked about this before, and we've gone round and round on this, and I think, I was on one side of the fence, you were on the other. But the older I get, I think I am starting to agree with you more. I'm more of the Piven stance. Like,
okay,
yeah, you need to. I don't know what the right word is. It's almost like you got to represent yourself better. It's too easy to show up to an Aerosmith concert wearing an Aerosmith shirt. Now, let me ask you, like, if it's really retro, like if you saw Aerosmith 5 years ago and or maybe that's not a good example, but like let's say you saw him in 2018, but you also saw him in like 2001 at a really cool show. Are you allowed to wear that shirt because it's vintage and represents you've been a fan for a long time?
I always went by and see Jeremy Piven and I are brothers in makeovers, so I always went by the fact when he said in PCU that you embarrass yourself when you wear the concert tee of the band you're going to see, and I've never done it. This is like the first time I've ever thought about doing it because Brian Neer brought back from Cincinnati this incredible front and back Christopher Cross concert T-shirt. Am I okay to wear it tomorrow night to the show at Ruoff, or should I leave it for another day? That's the question.
I think you got to follow your own rule, man. I mean, you'd be a hypocrite if you wore it, right?
Well, how many people will call me out, you think, when I get there? Now, I will say this. The reason why I bring it up is, does that apply to Christopher Cross? I mean, sure. Pearl Jam, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Metallica, I'm sure applies to them, but does that apply to Christopher Cross?
I say you do you, man. I mean, it's still a concert T-shirt. It still represents that, you're a connoisseur of good music and you're there for a good time. And it's a guy. It's probably a shirt of a guy playing guitar. I mean, that's got to cross over a lot of different genres of music. I mean, I went to the Stapleton concert on Friday, and there were plenty of people wearing Chris Stapleton stuff. I don't know how many people like the really bad offenders are like the guy that like buys it on the way in, like from the merch stand, and then like changes in the bathroom and puts it on. Like that's even more egregious.
So I can't buy it at the show. But I can, I can. So I got that. Corbin says not if you buy the shirt at the show. Now, we'll say this. Christian Webb, who is a friend of this show and runs things down at Brown County, right? He says that you can't wear a band shirt to the show, but you're a JMV, you do you.
What you have just different status? Are you better than everybody? The rules don't apply to you? Like, who are you?
That's the way it sounds, right? Shout out to Christian Webb because clearly the rule does not apply to me. I'm above the law, by God.
That's a bunch of BS. Us schleps have to have a dress code and you don't?
Well, and Tony Donahue says we wear Colts and Pacer shirts to the game. Our favorite drivers get to the races. Exactly. Why is a concert any different? That's Tony D.
See, you're like playing golf. That's why I don't like golf. There's so many unspoken rules, do's and don'ts, and
I know.
I break them all within the first two holes. Going to a show with you is too complicated. I just want to have a good time.
Well, I'm thinking about going to this concert tomorrow night in my Christopher Cross concert tee, Commando. So I'm breaking two rules.
Yeah. You probably should wear pants. I didn't think we need to talk about that.
Yo, if I'm going to break rules, I'm going to break rules, brother. Come on. What the hell?
Yeah, you got to wear bottoms to this show too, bud.
Yes. So that's tomorrow night. Would you go see Christopher Cross, Men at Work, and Toto if you had the opportunity?
Man, there's not much I wouldn't see, to be honest with you. Like, especially if I'm going with the right crowd and, transportation's taken care of. Like, I'm a big convenience guy when it comes to like nights out and things like that. Like if I have everything taken care of, it doesn't matter what I do, who I'm with, or where I'm going. Like if you take care of me, I can sit back and chill and have a good time and just not deal with hassle. I am very much a 40-year-old allergic to hassle type of a person. So I'm old, and it's taken me 40 years, John, to be this stuck in my ways. I don't plan on changing anytime soon.
Well, if you're following my path, which I would not advise at all to follow my path, then just to adjust it at some point. Now, is your brother still doing the band stuff?
Nah, not a lot. They scaled it back. Everybody in the band started having kids and youth sports and stuff like that. So they occasionally get together and do like a wedding or a big party if it's somebody they're close to. But they're South Side or Central Indiana tour stops kind of dried up a few years back.
Hey, by the way, Brian Crow, who is the pride of Ron Colley, says he can get the owners of Boyden's Bakery, Ron Colley grads. Do you go to Boyden's Bakery because they're Ron Colley grads?
Well, not only that, but I go to Boyden's Bakery because it's the best dang donut in Central Indiana.
My brother. There you go.
don't at me, okay? Long's is really good too. I get it, but Boyden's is like quarter of a mile down the street from where
St.
my
Roch.
kids go to school. Yeah, and so it's come like a Friday tradition once they're in school, which starts this week, by the way. That every Friday morning we will stop and get a donut on the way to work or way to school, and it's just something small to look forward to. But I mean, you get in there at the right time, you could be 12 deep waiting on a donut because it's that good, that popular. Everybody knows about it.
Shout out to Boyden's Bakery on the south side, on the way on Meridian. In fact, on the way to St. Roch, if you're going northbound, right there. It's Matt
You know
Taylor.
what's funny about that?
Yes.
Not to cut you off, but
Go ahead.
I bring those every year. I get like 2 dozen donuts every year, and I bring them to the combine on that Friday of the combine on my way to after I drop my kids off. And I bring them in, and it's you're sitting there on Radio Row, and I offer donuts to all the different teams and all the different podcasters and radio stations. Everybody like, where did you get this donut? Like, where's it from? Is this from Long's? Because everybody's Long's is synonymous with Indianapolis, but
Yeah.
like, no, these are even better. These are Boyden's, and everybody kind of raises their eyebrows, and they give me a big thumbs up of approval.
That's awesome. I love it too. Well, I'm a big fan of Roncalli grads too, by the way. So yeah, I'll fall in line with you there regardless. But when I was eating donuts, it's a hell of a donut. There's no question about that. So
They got cakes and cookies, you name it.
Enjoying that. Matt Taylor's in Owing Mills, or at least somewhere in that general vicinity, Maryland. Joint practices. We talked to Alec Pierce a little bit earlier. What did you see in this first gathering in this joint practice with the Ravens and the Colts this afternoon, Matt?
Well, first of all, I mean, the Ravens right on brand with them. They play with an edge, a high degree of physicality, a chippiness, whatever you want to call it. I mean, you just got to see their brand of football on their home turf, if you will, at their complex, which is beautiful, by the way. First class, but they play hard, they play tough. I thought the Colts did match that today. Daniel Jones got a majority of the first team reps after Anthony Richardson started with the ones in the first team session. But it was Jones. He looked sharp. I thought both quarterbacks looked sharp. Neither guy really put it in harm's way today. There's a couple of breakups here and there, but you always think about like what are they actually working on here? Would they call this play in a game? You have to a little bit of a caveat with it. But neither guy threw an interception. Both guys look sharp, but in terms of the overall reps, Jones got more of them because Anthony's going to play more overall reps in the preseason game coming up on Thursday night. But I thought Jones did a good job. I mean, they went up against that secondary and didn't back down. They got dudes on that side of the ball, man. They got Wiggins and Hamilton and Starks and Marlon Humphrey. These are guys that are either Pro Bowlers or All-Pro guys or both, or in the case of Starks, he's All-American last year at Georgia. So they didn't back down. A.D. Mitchell had a couple of nice plays. He's jaw-jacking with those secondary guys. He's full of confidence now the last couple of weeks after finding some consistency. I thought the defense did a good job against the run today. They gave up some big plays to the tight ends. Mark Andrews and Charlie Kolar had some big plays over the middle from Lamar Jackson. But overall, I thought the defense was very happy with itself in terms of their overall performance today. I talked with Cameron McGrone after practice today. And by the way, he's listed as, the starting linebacker now over Jalen Carlisle on the depth chart. So he's getting a lot of run, but he was really satisfied and pleased with the overall defensive performance today. So they picked off Lamar Jackson a couple of times in 11-on-11 work, one by Hunter Wooler, safety out of Wisconsin, 7th-round kid, picked them off in a 2-minute drill that stopped a drive or stopped a score from the Ravens. So overall, I thought it was really competitive, and the Colts held their own against a model modern-day NFL franchise in the Ravens. They've won the AFC North twice in a row. They've made the playoffs 6 of the last 7 years. They're just the closest thing to a juggernaut on offense. And on both sides, or both fields today, offense and defense, I thought the Colts did some good stuff.
Here's Matt Taylor, the voice of the Colts. Again, preseason game 1 is on Thursday. Colts pregame huddle begins with me and Bill and Casey and Rick 4 o'clock coming up on Thursday in preparation for that matchup in Baltimore. So Shane Steichen, Colts head coach, Anthony Richardson, he mentioned that earlier today, is going to get the start coming up on Thursday. And then Daniel Jones gets the start in preseason game 2 a week from Saturday against Green Bay. And all this is a part of the blueprint they put together to find out who gets the week number 1 of the regular season start.
Yeah, I think it's the right move. Get extensive run for both guys. Same plan, but just flip-flop it for different games. And, I want to see hopefully where Anthony gets into a couple of different situations tomorrow. Hopefully he gets off to a good start, leads a scoring drive. But I want to see how he operates on third down, third and short, third and long. I want to see, how they operate stacked up in your own territory. I want to see if they get in the red zone, how that looks. And then ideally, he plays well and leads a end of half or end of game situation, 2-minute thing like they drilled today, because you want to see how all of these guys can operate together in all of those game-like situations. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? So overall, Anthony has looked much better, much cleaner, much more poised and in control in the intermediate part of the passing game. That's the part of his game that he has needed to clean up the most. And it all starts with his footwork and widening his base a little bit. So that helps with the overall accuracy and the mechanics that he has going on up front, throwing the football, or up top, I should say, with the arm motions and things like that. But listen, it's camp. It's looked better. It's much better than it has looked in years past in terms of the accuracy. Balls aren't sailing and things aren't going left and right out of the reach of receivers over the middle. Pittman's over the middle a ton from Richardson. Doolin's over the middle a ton from AR. Tyler Warren is going to help, no question about it. But you're just not going to know until you see what he looks like Thursday night. And more importantly, if he starts week 1, what that looks like in a real regular season game schedule. So you never really know until you start playing regular season games. And I think we're still a long way from knowing who's going to win this quarterback battle, because there's still a couple of big events left, 3 preseason games, a joint practice with the Packers. The consistency in the passing game, I think right now, is going to determine who wins this job, because both quarterbacks, I think, have proven that they're professional, they know the offense, they're good leaders, they've got command in the huddle and things like that. It's just going to come down to overall accuracy. I think it's just kind of plain and simple who is the most consistent guy in the passing game in the next month or so.
Hey, Matt, Greg and I were talking about this, Greg Rakestraw, a little bit earlier. How are they going to manage or balance who they have on the field with each quarterback to give each one that fair shake? Nothing against the rest of the roster, but I mean, you do try to have to balance it, don't you, with the talent that is out there with each one of these guys? What's the plan there?
No, it's a great question, because you do want, to your point, apples to apples comparison, and you want to give both quarterbacks a fair shake in playing well with the personnel around him to allow him to play well. So, I don't know how the Colts are going to do it. Hearing from the Ravens today and talking to some of their people, it sounds like they're not going to play any of their starters in this game. And that's what makes the preseason just so, frustrating, I think, for fans, is that we used to play 4 and there was a cadence and a rhythm to it a little bit. Now we play 3, and each team has different priorities or a different mindset on what they want to get out of the preseason in terms of starter playing time and getting ready for the regular season. So, you have to factor that into it too. It's like, okay, if Anthony Richardson goes out there and he balls out against the second team defense of the Ravens, that's good, but we also have to kind of keep that in mind. Whereas, I don't know what the Packers are going to do, but like, just for conversation's sake, let's say Daniel Jones goes out there and he plays really well too in his quarter and a half next Saturday, but he plays against the starting defense of the Packers. Like, how do you weight that? It's a game, yes, but it's also, 2 different personnel groups on the other side of the ball. And then I don't know if the Colts are going to play their top 3 receivers. Jonathan Taylor probably won't play, just a hunch, just a gut. What do the Colts do along their offensive line too? Like, you bring up a really good question, and I think the talent evaluators have to, really hone in on like exactly what they want to see and be keenly aware of everything going on around those quarterbacks when they judge or grade how well they perform in game-like settings, which I know I talked for a long time right there and didn't really say anything, but to your point, that's what makes it tough.
Man, I do that all the time. That's well done. I think I just did that for the first 2 hours right there. That's really well done.
I could have just said I don't know, but I tried to give you some context.
Nobody knows except for those that are going to coach it up, and that's where you kind of have to wait and see, I guess. But nobody out there is patient. We all kind of want to know that ASAP, and that's why I ask right there. Defensively, though, this is something you have soaked up. Because people ask me all the time, and I was only out there for one gathering last Thursday, but what's been the not-so-subtle differences between what used to be with Gus Bradley defensively and what is now transforming under Lou Anarumo?
Yeah, I think the word that I would use, if I had to use one word to answer that, would just be aggressive. Like, you're seeing playmakers on the edge or on the outside, I should say, like Ward when he's been healthy, Wally, who got banged up a little bit today, by the way. I'm not sure what his status is going into Thursday, but he's bought into it. Same thing with Brents and Jones when they've been healthy. I talked to those guys in the off season. They weren't asked to play a whole lot of press man-to-man, in the previous regime under Gus Bradley. Obviously, we all know is mostly zone defense, but it's not like they can't do it or they couldn't excel at it. They are really excited about dictating the terms of the play to the offense, maybe whereas before it was a little bit, the other way around where it was reading and reacting and keeping things in front and stuff like that. I think guys are really excited to, press man-to-man on the outside, blitzing more, more twists, more stunts up front, and you're seeing more personnel groups along the defensive line. I mean, it seems like every day I see a different combination of guys up front between inside guys and outside guys. I mean, Taekwon Lewis is playing in. Hell, I even saw Latu playing some inside the last couple of practices. I saw him do it again today, too. So it's just, I think, an overall different scheme and a different mindset. It's just aggressiveness. And hopefully the Colts can fix the hallmark problems defensively that has plagued them the last couple of years. And those would be opposing quarterbacks get into too big of a rhythm early. They complete about 70% of their passes. That was the number last year, which ranked 30th. The other team's best player would too routinely have a big game against the Colts. And that would be frustrating, right? Because going into a game against the Texans, you got to stop Nico Collins. When you play the Jaguars, you got to stop Brian Thomas. And then the third one is just more pressure. The Colts just didn't blitz a ton last year. They were, I think, 31st or 32nd in overall pressure rate or blitz rate. And so, Anarumo's not going to go nuts with that, but it's certainly going to be higher than what we're used to in the last, you can throw in the last 7 or 8 years under Matt Eberflus as well. He didn't blitz a ton. So I think schematically it's going to be like a little bit of a culture shock for Colts fans to watch this defense operate. And with some of the playmakers they added on that side of the ball, some lockdown guys like Ward and Bynum, hopefully you're going to see some bigger things, some bigger game-changing opportunities for that defensive unit to change the game in a positive way for the Colts.
Should be fun. All right. Well, how's your time in Baltimore so far? You enjoying it?
Well, we got in yesterday and just did dinner and did some work in the hotel room. Today was just crazy. We got up, went to the joint practice, got there early. That was about a 40-minute drive out to Owings Mills, like you said, and then they practiced for a healthy amount today. They worked out for almost 2.5 hours, and then we got back about 25 minutes ago, back in the hotel. There's a team dinner tonight, a little swank place across the street. So it's been jacked up full of schedule itinerary, things that we have to do, things that we have to hit. So tomorrow's a little bit of a down day, just get ready for Thursday night for the game. But it's been very, very busy and eventful so far.
Fun, man. Well, keep track of it. And again, 4:00, the Colts pregame huddle starts coming up on Thursday. That should be outstanding.
All Christopher Cross rejoiners.
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Who's running the board for that? Is Nathaniel doing it?
I think Nathaniel's on the board for that one. He
yeah.
needs a memo. He needs a memo from you. Now, are you playing? No. You playing golf tomorrow?
Well, Thursday. Yeah, I am not playing golf there. So, here's how this goes. Carlton Mills from Ducks of Noblesville, DUCTZ of Noblesville, is bringing a basketball goal in the back of a truck, and I am having a shooting contest against people playing golf. Or, you know what happens, they're going to try to win some stuff from me, which they won't.
I was going to say, how many people will actually win versus you in a free throw contest?
Can you imagine? If I get beat twice, I'll be pissed. There's zero way I'm going to get beat twice. None.
Listen, folks, I mean, there's one thing my man can do, and he can shoot the rock. So.
We can shoot it, buddy. We're going to be, especially when I get to design the contest myself, too. That's the other part of it. So,
yeah. You don't have, like, one of those, like, oval rims, do you? Like they do at the carnival?
Yeah. Yeah. Go back to the Johnson County Fair and get one of those almond-shaped kind of rims right there with the oversized basketball. That's always fun to try to hit. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at least you've shot on it before. You've got home court advantage.
Yes, indeed. All right, well, hey, keep us updated on everything, and we'll do it again soon, but I'll talk to you coming up on Thursday. We'll get everything started.
All right, man. Looking forward to it. Appreciate you.
Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. He said, hey, man, if you're above the law, if you're above the rules, tomorrow night, wear that Christopher Cross concert tee front and back. Most of you are suggesting since it's from another concert and not from that concert, I'm safe anyway. That true? Other side, let me take a break. We'll come back. We got the Harris Hoosier Park race of the day coming up. More to give to you. And we'll close out the show. And as I mentioned, a busy week coming up later on this week. Man, Laura Steele and Skids on Saturday night on the JMV Takeover. That is going to be absolutely outstanding. More on that coming up too. Not only that, but SIDS, for me, really both Friday evening and then Sunday afternoon. Harris Hoosier Park in Anderson on Friday afternoon. Legends in Franklin on Thursday. Hey, mark it down. Enjoy. And by the way, too, James, I think we found a pool. I believe the Fubar Lounge may be opening up their cement pond, not their semen pond, their cement pond for us coming up on Sunday. I'm sorry.
You really got to enunciate that correctly.
I am not swimming in the semen pond. The cement pond. See, how did they get away with that on the Beverly Hillbillies without saying it that way?
I have no idea.
Had to really be careful with that. Quick break. Back with you next.
107.5 The Fan.
This was in September of 1993, James, a WOMAD festival. You can look that up, WOMAD, WOMAD, WOMAD Fest, at what was then called Deer Creek Music Center, now is Ruoff Music Center. First time I saw this performed live from Are You Gonna Go My Way, Lenny Kravitz. And it was awesome. I believe the crowd started throwing garbage everywhere. I think it was a blizzard of garbage, which was much different because another time later on during Lollapalooza in 1996, there was also a blizzard of garbage. And it was a blizzard of garbage when Waylon Jennings was playing on stage. So James Hetfield of Metallica came out and said, if there's another piece of trash thrown up on this stage, we're not going to come out here and play a blanking note. And then the garbage stopped.
It actually stopped.
And then Waylon Jennings goes right into the Dukes of Hazzard theme, and everybody cheered. He said, if you don't give this man the proper respect he deserves, we're not going to play a blanking note. Hetfield, man, took charge, brother.
Good for him.
But no, WOMAD Fest. WOMAD Fest was Lenny Kravitz, Crowded House, PM Dawn. Remember the song from the 90s, Laid by James?
No, but
she only
I'll take your word
when
for
she's
it.
on, yeah. So she only blanks when she's on blank. James and Laid was that song. I mentioned Crowded House, right? Yeah. Peter Gabriel, Sinead O'Connor. Lenny Kravitz was outstanding. WOMAD Fest. That would have been September of 1993. The awesome Laura Steele says, the question by JMV, would you wear the artist's shirt at their concert? Yes, I would, and yes, I do. Me at Bob Seger with the lovely Lindy Thaxton right there in 2019. Shout out. Completely understand. Fulton is at 239-1070. Fulton's been on hold forever. Fulton, you said you had breaking news. What's this breaking news?
Yeah, I got the breaking news. I got an email from Blake Cookman, and they finally put up the Colts banner for me, for my home fans, the Thunder winner for it, and give me the opportunity to go to the game next Saturday at for the Green Bay Packers game.
James, did you catch any of that? I didn't hear it.
Fulton, are you underwater right now?
No. Hello, James. I'm heading to my softball practice.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to be at the Packer game. I got a little bit of that, right?
Yep, the Colts, the Indianapolis Colts game I'm going to be next Saturday.
There you go, buddy. Well, that is breaking news right there.
Yep, it is. So hopefully when you come and see it, you'll get to see the guy who was on the banner, the Colts banner.
Well done. Well, good luck. Good luck on your softball experience tonight, and we'll look for you a week from Saturday downtown.
Yeah, it's going to be on the 23rd. I think it's going to be at the same place, Johnson County.
Oh.
So it's the tournament, I think.
Gotcha.
But we don't know, but we'll keep you guys updated.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good night, Fulton.
John.
There's Fulton
You
with
too.
the breaking news right there. Thank you, Fulton. Roland, before we hit the Azusa Park race of the day. Hello, Roland.
Hey, what's going on, man? You know something? I went over to Working Man's Friend about a week ago during the race, and I could not get it. They wasn't even taking takeout orders, man. It was so busy.
It's a busy place, man. Did you say hello to Becky from us?
Well, you know, the thing is, I was hoping that you would have been around so you could at least probably got me in there and got me a meal with your pool.
We are, going to be back there, I believe, at some point in the not-so-distant future.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember this when I went over to get the brisket back in the day when you had Big Joe and he ate up all the brisket before I got there.
Well, that was when Mike Wells and I did the smoke-off, right?
Right, and
then Joe said how much he didn't like Mike's, but also I think took the entire brisket home and ate it. Yes.
Right, and then y'all gave me the ticket to the Golden Glove thing, and I said if I don't win these tickets, I said I'm gonna end up bringing a boxing match down to the station.
That is well done. That's good recollection out of you, Roland, right there.
Hey man, before I go, JMV, and if we need to hook up, man, is you remember my angel is a centerfold.
Jay Giles Band. Yes, when they had all the lingerie models were all marching around the classroom in that video back in the day.
Yeah, your memories just got so.
I'm telling you, my memory is strong. My short term stinks. My long term is still pretty tight, though. True story.
I might need you to at least give me a few cents whenever you do another remote. To help a brother out to make up for that lost brisket.
Well, you tell me. I will say this. We're going to be at Harazuja Park coming up on Friday in Anderson. I'm going to stop at Sid's on my way back. They're celebrating 80 years at Sid's in Noblesville. And then I'm going to be at Sid's on Sunday from 1 until 3, celebrating 80 years. That's on Sunday. But State Fair in the tap room on Saturday night from 6 until midnight. If you're feeling it, deal it. How about that, Roland?
Okay, man. Okay.
And I'm going to try to create like an old Dance Party USA or Club MTV or The Grind or something like that inside the tap room. That's what I'm trying to do.
And I do listen to your takeover too, man, and that's cool as hell. So
I may get an old, like Soul Train dance line going in there. Like we'll just get a bunch of people and we'll do a dance line and we'll walk down like they used to do. Don Cornelius used to do on Soul Train.
But you probably dancing like a girlfriend on what's the name back in the
come on,
day,
man. Hey, listen, this dude's got some rhythm right here. Let me tell you, I've got some rhythm.
Okay, man. I want to see that.
I can move it. I can move it. I still can.
All right.
We'll look for you on Saturday, Roland. Thank you very much. That's the JMV Takeover. The Indiana Donor Network brings us live to you in the tap room at the Indiana State Fair. I mentioned Laura Steele's going to be there. DJ Skids is going to be there. We'll have a dance line. We're hoping to have like a Dance Party USA. What do they say now? Vibe? That's what we're looking for. Saturday. More on that still to come. The tap room at the Indiana State Fair. Right now, 50 in betting, 50 in dining. Are you ready? Let's see if you can win the Harazuja Park race of the day.
Ride with JMV.
Hans, Bobby, I'm your white knight.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
At your Harris Hoosier Park race of the day, Evan Tafflinger was the winner. The winning horse was American Classic. $3.40 on a $2 bet. The $2 exacta payout was $14.60. 50-cent trifecta was $20.20. That's your Harris Hoosier Park race of the day. Evan gets 50 in betting, 50 in dining, courtesy of Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino. That is in Anderson. The Thomas Nicholas Band, basically opposite of me, coming up on Saturday night at the Indiana State Fair. He, of course, from American Pie fame, the actor, and Rookie of the Year. The Thomas Nicholas Band at the Indiana State Fair, number 9 at 239-1070. You can go on us to check that out on Saturday, and then you can mosey on over to the tap room, if you will, and hang out with us as we do the JMV Takeover live from the tap room on Saturday night. Number 9 at 239-1070. Those tickets are going to be yours. Harris Hoosier Park race of the day. We'll do it again tomorrow, as I mentioned, too. Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino. Dan Pat's time. That is coming up on Friday. I cannot wait to see you there. So I had mentioned this over the weekend. I think I got double booked for Friday, but this is all straightened out now. So let me go ahead and gather you all right here so you can come out and make sure you can have some fun with us at some point. So this all starts coming up on Thursday with the Fan Golf Outing presented by Franciscan Health. That's at the Legends Golf Club in Franklin. Shout out to Ted Bishop. It is going to be awesome. Food and beverage. I know Brent's got the beverage there. So we're going to have a blast on Thursday. So, yes, I will do the normal radio show, although it will only be an hour because from 4 until 5, I'll do the Colts pregame huddle, and I'll do that live from Franklin at the Legends Golf Club. Everybody continues to play golf. Me, Casey Valier, Bill Brooks, and Rick Venturi give you the Colts pregame huddle because later on that evening, preseason game number 1 in Baltimore features the Colts and the Ravens, and Anthony Richardson will start. Shane Steichen mentioned earlier today, Richardson will start in preseason game 1. Daniel Jones will get the start in preseason game 2 a week from Saturday against the Packers at Lucas Oil Stadium. So that's on Thursday. And a shout out to Carlton Mills, who's going to bring the basketball goal in the back of the truck. And we will have a shooting contest with all of you out there. That's going to be a blast. That'll be me and all of you out there. And I do have to mention, I got to get some music set up out there, too. So I got to make sure I get somebody engineering to bring out some music so I can do that next to the truck with the goal in the back, courtesy of Ducks of Noblesville and Carlton Mills. That's on Thursday. Friday, the Harris Hoosier Park. Our location, Dan Patch. I'll be there from 3 until normalcy, 6 o'clock. I'm going to meet a lot of people at Sid's afterwards. We'll celebrate a fantastic 80 years with Sid's. So Saturday, the JMV Takeover inside the tap room at the Indiana State Fair, 6 until midnight on B105.7. That is coming up on Saturday. And then on Sunday, 1 until 3 at Sid's, again celebrating 80 years. Sid's in Noblesville with Brian and the gang and some Foo Bar Lounge pool action later on that afternoon. Details to come. But yeah, plenty of opportunities for you to join me, us, Thursday through Sunday. James, great job out of you today. Alec Pierce, Matt Taylor, Greg Rakestraw, podcast 1075thefan.com. Michael Lombardi, Ted Kitchell, and more tomorrow after 3. Join us.